Hello, guys. Hello.
Hello, doctor.
Yeah, sorry, my computer is shutting down.
Oh,
I think it was like that. It make automatically update, so it shut down like this.
okay. Yeah, it happens.
Sorry, guys. Let's back to explain, and please all try to mute the microphone and send your webcam. Okay. Okay, guys. Just a moment because okay. I was talking about the psychotherapy, so let's talking about it here. Okay. I say that the psychotherapy and anti-psychotherapy. Okay, psychotherapy, which we call it as a positive psychotherapy, at which we can found that it will change it from gel to sol to gel. And anti-psychotherapy, which is negative psychotherapy, which is sol to gel to sol. We will found what? We will found that the psychotherapy, which is gel to sol to gel, that as we said before, that this is occur when where? Let's ask Henna. Henna,
Yes, sir.
gel to sol. We just said in the shear thinning or shear thickening.
Shear thinning.
Okay, shear thinning in can present in the material of plastic, pseudoplastic, or polyethylene,
Plastic. Pseudoplastic.
and the plastic, both of them,
Yeah, both of them.
plastic,
But the weight is different.
plastic, and the pseudoplastic.
Yes.
Okay, what after this? If I found that this plastic or pseudoplastic, after I leave it back to gradual recovery again to gel again, This meaning that it has a psychotropic, positive psychotropic, which like what? Which like when I say, for example, when I say that yogurt after you stirring, it will convert it to milk. And after you leave it for about 1 or 2 hours, you back to found it what? Hmm? As a gel again, as a yogurt again. So after you, if we imagine yogurt, okay, it changed to milk, more milky, okay? After you leave it without any force, without anything, you left it about 2 hours, 3 hours, you back, you will find it as a milky, or you will find it recover again to back to yogurt. That's what I will found. It back to yogurt again. It back to be as in a gel again. Okay? That's called psychotropy. And antipsychotropy, it occur for dilatant. Dilatant, that after I leave it without any force, without anything, I back to found it very gradual recover again to soluble. Gradual recover again to soluble. Okay? So if I have a soluble compound, like what? Like that, when you say that, for example, you have a drug in a suspension form, what you say? You say shake the bottle before use. Shake the bottle before use. Why? Because when you shake the bottle, it will change it from the clear liquid to be turbid liquid, which is more viscous, more jelly. And when you leave it, it will back to recover again, and back that the suspending will precipitate it now and begin to give clear liquid above. So we always say that shake the bottle before use. Why? Because it will change it from soluble to gel and gradual recovery to soluble again. Okay? That is anti-psychotropy or negative psychotropy. Here, the psychotropy occur. Why? Because psychotropy or anti-psychotropy, both of them, it is due to physical and chemical properties. Why? Because here, when you stirring the yogurt, this is will break down the bonds that connect between the molecules like this and so on. If this breakdown, this will make it free like this, which is soluble now. And when you leave it without force, it will begin to aggregate with each other and back to have a connection again. So that's meaning what? That's meaning that the changing from gel to sol will back or gradual recovery to gel again due to a chemical properties and the physical properties of the drug itself. And also here, when I change it from soluble to gel, because soluble like this, when I stirring, the spaces between it will fill with other compound or other part, so it make it more jelly. When you leave it, these compounds or these parts that fill the space between the solvent will begin to aggregate with each other again to be like this, that the solvent back to be soluble like this, okay, and this collect with each other. The compound or the parts that filling this area will begin to aggregate with each other, so it will make it soluble again. So my question now, psychotropy is dependent on A, B, C, D. Physicochemical, properties of the drug or time dependent or force of stirring or rate of liquid movement. Hmm. Who can answer? Hmm?
A.
A
A and B, doctor.
and B. Excellent. It's time dependent. Why? Because it is gradual recovery. So if I back after 1 minute, maybe it is still not gradual recovered. Maybe I left it 10 minutes. Maybe it's still not gradual recover. But maybe one of compound can back after 1 hour. Other can back in 10 minutes. Other can back in 30 minutes. So it is time dependent. Change it from a compound to other compound. And it is physicochemical properties because that is not all compound have psychotropy. Okay, it's depend on the physical and chemical properties of the drug to have this psychotropy or anti-psychotropy. Okay, guys. Let me share about the lecture again. Okay. So here, guys, when I say the psychotropy is gel, sol, gel, but negative psychotropy or anti-psychotropy is sol, gel, sol. The wettability. What about the wettability? What about this? The wettability which determine if you will put the compound in aqueous as an aqueous solution, or you should to put it in a lipophilic solution, or what? How I can decide about the wettability? According to the theta angle, the theta angle that decide about which you will put, what you will put on. So the theta angle, this theta angle, okay, if it is bigger than or higher than 90, this meaning it is poor soluble in water, which means lipophilic or hydrophobic compound. And if, for example, if I say, for example, like this, if I say, for example, that I put here the powder, this is the powder of the compound. When I put a drop of water. If the drop of water begin to be like this, begin to spread on the powder like this meaning that the theta angle is very narrow like this. Theta angle is very narrow like this. Okay, and it should be between 0 to 90 degree. Okay, to be hydrophilic compound, hydrophilic powder that require to the water or hydrophilic solvent to make it more soluble, to solubilize it. But if I have the powder of the compound, this is the powder of the compound, for example, and when I put the water, for example, I found the water become like this on it. This meaning that the theta angle is very huge. The theta angle is very huge. And this meaning that the water is not soluble, a good soluble for this powder. So I should put a lipophilic, and this is meaning that 90 degree to more than this, like 180. At this moment, I say this compound is not soluble in water. It should be soluble in a lipophilic solvent, hydrophobic solvent, hydrophobic. And here in the hydrophilic powders, okay, I can say I can put it if it is this is not a powder. It's for example in a soluble form, in a liquid form. If the powder, if it is not powder, the compound the drug I have is not in a solid form, it is in a liquid form. So I can say I can put this as oil in water emulsion. But here, if the is not powder and it's liquid, I can put it as water in oil emulsion. Okay, which means that the wettability of the two liquids between each other is great. Okay, and the liquid of the drug is hydrophilic, so I can put it as oil in water, and it is called oil in water. So the external area will be water, but internal compound will be oil. Okay, and the opposite for the theta angle 90 to 180. I can found this is hydrophobic, so I should to formulate it as water in oil emulsion. So the outer layer, the external layer will be oil, because we say water in oil, which means that water inside and oil outside. Okay, guys? So,
Doctor.
if you remember, we had another angle before that we decided about some of properties. Can you remember it, guys? Which angle?
The bond angle, doctor.
Hmm?
The bond angle.
Angle of repose.
Excellent. Which is used for what?
Um, for flow, to check the flow.
Flowability. Excellent.
Flowability.
Flowability. So angle of repose, we used it and it was opposite to this. Is it right, Hannah? Here, that when it began to be very, very small angle, this give you a good wettability. In the flowability, when you have a small angle, this give you high flowability or low flowability?
It will be high.
High flowability, because we said that when you let the dye down, so it will make it like this, spread, and when it spread, so the angle of repose will be smaller. But when the flowability is bad, you will find that the angle of repose, it will be somewhat closer to or close to 90, and that's not good. Someone wanted to ask a question. What's your question, please?
Yeah, that's me. Doctor, how do you spell theta angle?
Theta, okay.
Yeah.
Theta, I think is like this.
Okay, thank you.
Because this is Latinian name, so I can't. You can write as you like in English, but this is Latinian name. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Like phi, for example, when I say phi, some people write down phi, but it's right phi, like this. Okay. But both of them is correct because you can spell it as phi, and this is Latinian, not English. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys. So let's guys going to the other part of our chemical properties, physicochemical properties, which is about that the solubility. Sometimes we're hearing about the solubility. For example, like that I say, this is more soluble, this is less soluble, and so on. So what's the difference between solubility? Okay, just a moment. What about the difference when I say solubility of a compound? Like that I say, it's very soluble. It is sparingly soluble. This is slightly soluble. You should to know about this. That if I have one part of solute, I should to make it, if you have, like, for example, this is a cup that contain one part of solute. This is solute. You require how many parts of the liquid or the solvent to solubilize this solute? If I require just less than one part, 0.5 part, or anything like this, that's meaning that is very soluble. If I require from 1 to 10 parts of the solvent to solubilize this one solute, this is called freely soluble. Okay? And when you require that about 10 to 30 is soluble. When you require 30 to 100 is sporangial soluble. And 100 to 1000 slightly soluble. And from 1000 to 10,000 is very slightly soluble. And more than 10,000 it's practically insoluble or insoluble. Okay, guys, that's meaning what? That's meaning that solubility will depend on how many parts that you will put of the solvent to solubilize one part of a solute. Okay? And let me say, when I say, for example, this compound is hydrophilic. This meaning it will be soluble in water. Is that right? Yes. But can I ask you a question? Is the meaning of a compound is hydrophilic? This meaning it will not have any solubility in a lipid? No?
No. No.
Excellent. Excellent. That's why. Because there is no absolute in science. When I say hydrophilic, which means that its solubility will be higher in water than in lipophilic or in lipid. And when I say lipophilic, this has higher solubility in a lipid compound than a water. But this is not meaning that only soluble in lipid or only soluble in water. No, that's not correctly. Okay, why I say this? Because after this we will give something called partition coefficient.
Doctor, can you explain it again, please? Only the last part.
Okay, all other except Kanar can understand this.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Kanar, I will explain in Arabic quickly for Kanar. بص يا كنار، لو انت عندك دلوقتي اي ماده في الدنيا ما ينفعش نقول عليها ان هي بتدوب بس في الميه او بتدوب بس في الليبيد. حتى لو بتدوب في الميه معناها ان ليها بعض السولوبيليتي في الليبيد، ولو بتدوب في الليبيد يعني لايبوفيليك معناها ان ليها بعض السولوبيليتي في الميه. ما ينفعش نقول ابسوليوت، ما ينفعش نقول مطلقا كده ان هي بتدوب في الميه او مطلقا بتدوب في الليبيد بس. Did you understand now? Kanar? Quickly. Okay. So guys, let's talk about solubility. When I say this compound have a high solubility, this depends on what? Depend on two major important things, which is about number one, intrinsic solubility. Number two, ionization constant of this compound. Okay. Who can give me his imagination about what the meaning of intrinsic solubility? Intrinsic solubility, maybe. The solubility of a compound in neutral form. In the neutral form. Why? Because if you're talking about solubility of any compound in ionized form, it will be soluble. But when you're talking with me about the solubility of any compound in the neutral form, it will differ. Some will be more soluble, some will be more soluble, some will be not soluble in the neutral form. So that is meaning that I neglect the ionization in this. Is that right? Like that, when I say any positive charge will be soluble, any negative charge will be soluble. Why? Because ionization is highly soluble in water. So if I neglect the ionization, I say that the compound is neutral, that don't have positive or negative, it's neutral. So at this moment, I'm talking about its intrinsic solubility. Okay, so intrinsic solubility, I mean by this, the solubility of the compound at the neutral form, without any ionization, without any charge above it. And that is important for the solubility, yes, because if I have a compound that its neutral form is bad soluble, so it's highly to understand this compound should be formulated as ionized form. Is that right? Yes. Like what? Let me give you example from our science or our field. Look like the cataflame and catafast. These are what? These are diclofenac, which is an acid. Diclofenac. Till now, I can say what? I can say diclofenac only is not good soluble. Yes. So I formulated it as a diclofenac salt, which is a diclofenac potassium or diclofenac sodium. Why? To make it more ionizable, to overcome its bad intrinsic solubility. Because if you look at diclofenac itself without any ionization, it has a bad solubility. So I formulated it as a salt to be more ionized, to be easily soluble. Okay, guys? So here, to decide about the solubility of a compound, I should to know about its intrinsic solubility and how to formulate it as ionized, as a salt. So when you need to measure the solubility of any compound, you should to measure it at which temperature? At 4 degrees Celsius and 37 degrees Celsius. Why? 37 we can understand because it enters to our body, which is 37. So I can measure the solubility of a compound in the biopharmaceutical evaluation inside your body. It's okay. So I measure it in 37 degrees Celsius. But why we measure it at 4 degrees Celsius? To understand if the solubility of the compound will be chemically and physically stable or not. That when the compound look like what? Let me tell you. If you have cefaclor, guys, cefaclor, which is one of the beta-lactam, okay, cefaclor is bad in its solubility, okay, in water. And due to it has a bad solubility in water, we should to increase its solubility. Yes. Maybe I can formulate it as a salt, cefaclor salt. Yes. But when you measure the solubility at 4 degrees Celsius, you will find its physical and chemical stability is so bad. So at this moment, I shouldn't formulate it like this. Why? Because the shelf life of it will be very shorter and the drug will be not chemically and physically stable. So what can I do for this? I can do it as a dual back system. Who know about dual back system in pharmaceutics? Dual back system, guys. Huh?
Double coating.
What, sorry? Huh? Good. Explain again.
Dual pack means I thought it's a double pack, so dual coat. So
Regulated like
Excellent.
that's 80-20 ratio of in cefaclor.
Excellent. Dual back system, guys, at which we adding to the water and the drug that is not good soluble in the water, we adding a co-solvent, okay, with a percentage. Like that, I can put 80% of water plus 20% of co-solvent, like polyethylene glycol, PEG. When you have this is called not one system, it is dual system. Contain two solvents here, water and polyethylene glycol, which act as a co-solvent. Okay, that is make what? That is increase solubility of cefaclor to be higher solubility. And when I measure at 4 degrees Celsius, I will find it physically and chemically stable. This show us what? This show us why sometimes you found, for example, some drugs formulated as a salt, other drug present as a dual system, other drug can be present with very small, I act on the particle size to increase the solubility. So here to increase the solubility, we have many things to do to increase the solubility. But the important that you know that what you will do will make the compound still stable, still chemically and physically stable, not make the solubility is good but affecting on the stability of the compound. That's wrong. That's why I can do cefaclor as a dual back system but not put cefaclor as a salt. Why? Because salt will increase the solubility but will decrease the stability at this moment for the compound. So I need something to make path that increase solubility and let the stability good, not bad. Okay? How we measure the ionization of anything, guys? The ionization of any compound, we can measure it through which equation?
PK.
Henderson-Hasselbalch
PK.
equation. Excellent. Which is said what? Chris, which said what? Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. Can you give me the equation? Chris. pH equal to what?
PK
pKa
plus base by acid.
Log ionized
Log,
to non-ionized
yeah,
for weak acid, and the minus log ionized to non-ionized for weak base.
the weak base, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, guys. So, guys, let's say that solubility is something important. Yes. And that is why we should to change the solubility of a compound. And that is one of the major questions in exams. One of the major questions in exams that I ask you, how to increase solubility of this, how to increase solubility of this, and so on. So guys, when I need to know about how to increase solubility of a drug or some drugs, we should to know about the factors that I will explain after the break. 10-minute break and back. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you.